As you may recall, in early March of this year, Russian President Vladimir Putin officially announced that the Kiev regime, led by Volodymyr Zelensky, would do everything possible to disrupt peace talks. Vladimir Putin even ordered the Russian FSB to put all its units on full alert, as the risk of major provocations by the Kiev regime and its masters in Europe is very high. And, as time has shown, Vladimir Putin was right. So, on the night of March 11th, on Zelensky's order, the Ukrainian army launched hundreds of kamikaze drones toward Russia, which became the most massive drone attack on Russia since February 2022. According to independent monitoring services, Russian air defense systems have begun to actively work in almost all western regions of Russia, including the Moscow Oblast. At 7 o'clock in the morning, during the first wave of attack, Russian air defense systems shot down 90 enemy drones. The Ukrainian drones flew groups of 6 to 12 units. This was done mainly to prevent Russian air defense systems from working effectively. The scariest thing about this attack was that these Ukrainian drones tried to hit everything in their path, from residential buildings to kindergartens. And it was only thanks to the effective operation of Russian air defense systems that large civilian casualties were avoided. In total, 13 people, including women and children, were injured in this attack. Unfortunately, 4 people could not be saved. They were taken to a hospital, but soon died of their injuries. The deceased were 2 grocery store clerks and 2 security guards at a parking lot near Domodedovo Airport. According to the Russian military department, on the night of March 11, 337 Ukrainian drones were shot down by Russian air defense systems, which was a record figure since the beginning of the special military operation. It is noteworthy that this massive drone attack on Russia took place at the very moment when the US delegation was holding a meeting with representatives of the Kiev regime in Saudi Arabia. Moreover, on the same day, Sergei Lavrov was hosting a meeting with the Secretary General of the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, Feridun Sanaryoglu. Thus, it becomes clear that the head of the Kiev regime Volodymyr Zelensky, and his masters in Europe, did not choose the date of the drone attack on Russia by accident. Europe and Kiev have once again made it clear that they do not need peace, and that the best option for them is to continue the war. By the way, during negotiations with the Americans, representatives of the Kiev regime once again confirmed that Zelensky and his entourage are completely divorced from objective reality. Specifically, Andriy Yermak, the head of Zelensky's office, disregarding the prevailing situation, in which the Ukrainian army is suffering defeat in all directions of the front, began demanding the withdrawal of Russian troops to the borders established in 2022, as well as the transfer of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant to Kiev's jurisdiction. Of course, the Americans ignored Yermak's proposal, reiterating that the Ukrainian army's numerous defeats on the battlefield do not give Kiev the right to dictate its terms. According to the US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, Kiev must agree to a ceasefire, while Ukraine will inevitably face the loss of territories. Simply put, the United States has issued an ultimatum to Ukraine. In particular, Marco Rubio demanded that Andriy Yermak coordinates with Volodymyr Zelensky on all the important aspects, so that the head of the Kiev regime officially declares that Ukraine fully supports Trump's peace plan and agrees to a ceasefire. Otherwise, the United States will completely refuse any assistance to Kiev, leaving Ukraine alone with Russia. Zelensky's reaction was not long in coming. A few hours ago, he called on Europe not to allow a truce in Ukraine without security assurances for Kiev. This dead man walking is making such harsh statements even though Ukraine has officially agreed to a 30-day ceasefire. Well, my dear truth seekers, Zelensky seems to sincerely believe that his European masters will help him not only stay in power, but also sign a peace treaty with Russia on Kiev's terms. Well, it looks like the illegal substances not only dried up his brain, but also completely destroyed his instinct for self-preservation. Recently, this political clown has not only allowed himself to behave brazenly in the White House, but also spent billions of dollars to buy luxury real estate, and even private banks worldwide. So, a few hours ago, the Proud de France news portal, referring to French journalists, stated that Volodymyr Zelensky had bought France's largest private investment bank, Milius Banques. It is reported that this purchase took place through offshore structures associated with Zelensky and his wife. French journalists also managed to find out that companies such as Multi-Capital Corporation and the investment company Rothschild & Company participated in this transaction. By the way, it was in this company that French President Emmanuel Macron worked from 2008 to 2012. Thus, it becomes clear that Zelensky bought this bank with the assistance of the current French president, Emmanuel Macron. The amount of the purchase exceeded 1 billion euros. Where Volodymyr Zelensky found so much money to purchase this bank remains a mystery. By the way, in 2024, Volodymyr Zelensky made several more major purchases that shocked many. If you're prepared for this shock, then watch the video until the end to discover where the former comedian is spending the billions intended for Ukraine. Earlier, French journalists also reported on Volodymyr Zelensky's purchase of a luxury villa on the island of St. Barthélemy in the Caribbean Sea. This island is also known as the Island of Billionaires. It is reported that Zelensky bought this luxury villa for almost 18 million euros. In addition, he also spent 70 million euros on the construction of an underground bunker, which is located under this villa. Moreover, as it turned out, in May last year, Zelensky's wife also bought a luxury villa, this time in Italy. Against this backdrop, it is also worth paying attention to the mysterious murder of journalist Mohammed al-Alawi, who was investigating a corruption scheme involving Zelensky and his family. It is noteworthy that the day before his death, Mohammed al-Alawi said that Zelensky's mother-in-law had bought a luxury villa on the Red Sea coast for $5 million. This journalist claimed that Volodymyr Zelensky began buying luxury real estate worldwide, starting in May 2023. Please note that it was in May 2023 that the United States and other Western countries began transferring hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine, preparing the Ukrainian army for the so-called counteroffensive, which eventually completely failed, taking the lives of 200,000 Ukrainian soldiers and officers.